Well, hello, everybody. We are the Nashvilleins, and this is the Broke Down Sessions, and we have a treat today. We have Leslie Satcher here with us. She is one of the icons of the songwriting community here in town. I just want to go through some of the other... I couldn't memorize all these, so I want to go through some of the cuts she did. Leanne Womack, Trace Adkins, Lori Morgan, Gretchen Wilson, Terry Clark,
McBride stuff, right?
Martina McBride,
Vince Gill too, right?
Pam Tillis, Linda Davis, Joe Diffie.
George Strait.
Did I say Leanne Womack? I mean, she's got a bunch of Leanne. Trisha Yearwood, Reba McEntire, Sarah Evans. I mean, the list goes on and on.
She's pretty good at this.
So she's been doing
I got
this.
a Merle Haggard cut. Merle Haggard.
Well, there you go. Did it make the list? Is it on this list yet?
I don't know, but it was on there. And Willie
So we
Nelson.
need to update this
Willie,
list, but
yeah.
this list goes, probably 3 pages long. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. We've
Yeah.
been friends for a long time, all of us.
We
So
have.
we worked together. You've sang many, many songs for me.
I have, and I appreciate the work for sure.
Hey, man. He sang
But
for
the
me so
last
we could record him.
time we saw you, or at least last time I saw you, was in Henderson, Kentucky. We did that songwriting event down there, which is such a beautiful event. What's the name of that?
Sandy Watkins.
Sandy Lee Watkins song.
Yeah, it didn't get to happen this year, but
Yeah.
yeah, because of COVID, of
It was
course.
going to, but yeah.
And anyway, we just had such a wonderful time down there.
You,
And,
your son got to be played and sang.
Yes,
Great.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I guess we wanted to talk about first of all how you got started. Let's start there.
Well, I came to Nashville with the class of 88, 89. So Tricia, Garth, all those people, we all came at the same time. I came here just to be I wanted only to be a singer. I didn't even know you could be a songwriter for a living. And
I was the same way.
I had no idea. I
Yeah,
didn't know what
I was the
royalty
same way.
was. I knew nothing. I came to depose Reba McEntire. I want her to go away, and thank the Lord she didn't, because she's cut my songs and she's been real kind to me. So I'm so thankful she stayed. But I heard myself down on Music Row, where there's a big condominium complex now. There used to be a thing called Barbara Mandrell Country as a museum.
Yeah, I remember.
They
that.
had a little place in the back where you could put your voice on tracks for $10. And my friend took me down there, and we grew up at home with the Oak Ridge Boys, and Dwayne Allen and my mother and daddy and all them went to high school together. And so I knew that whole family, and I was up here visiting one of Dwayne's nephews, which was my friend, a guy named Bob Allen. And he goes, hey, you can put your voice on the track in this little box thing.
Now,
down
was
there.
it the track of the actual song, or
Yeah,
was
like
it a
I
sound
did
alike?
Crazy, and every girl singer does,
Yeah.
And then another guy at home knew Jerry Crutchfield, who was the big man at that time. He was producing Tanya, and he was the hoss. And he said, oh, if you've got some stuff, you can take it to Jerry Crutchfield. Well, I was just that bright. I took my little recorded $10 tapes, and I went to Jerry Crutchfield's office, and I went, my name is Leslie Satcher, and this is my recordings, and I'm here. And his secretary was so kind enough to take them, which I'm sure they wound up right in the trash basket.
Yeah.
But which I talked to Jerry Crutchfield about that years later. After he started cutting my songs, I went, what'd you do with stuff like that? He goes, oh, I never heard of that.
Yeah.
But anyways, it was enough for me to be, I heard myself with reverb. I'd never heard myself in a vocal
Okay,
bit.
yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah, I sound
I'm
so
the
big.
queen.
Yeah.
Move over, Reba. And so I just thought, this is it. And so I moved to town. When I got here, I had about $250. I had enough to get my apartment and then just figure out what I was going to do. And it was all God, because the next day I moved here. I went to church, this church called Christ Church, which is right down the road in Brentwood there from my apartments. And it was so jammed, and they were rocking, they had a great choir, and I went in, and this man goes, do you need a seat? And I go, yes. And he goes, well, go up there and sit on that 4th row by that lady with the hat. That's the only seat left. And I go, okay. So I go up and sit down next to Naomi Judd.
What?
Wow.
Yeah, and so, I mean, they were rock stars at that time, and white hot, and so she was like, honey, do you have any place to go for lunch? And I went, no.
You're kidding
No,
me.
seriously, that happened. And so the Naomi and Larry Strickland, her husband, who was with the Stamps, with Elvis and everything, they just took me under their wing, and I started, there were about 10 of us that started going out there all the time on the weekends. My sister, to their farm. My sister and I, and Guy Penrod, who was one of the lead singers for the Gaither Vocal Band for years, and a couple of other people. And they just kind of took us under their wing, and Naomi started listening to my songs. And she did the wildest thing to me. We were on her bus, actually. We were heading down to a shed show in Chattanooga. She goes, let me see one of them songs, Leslie. I said, okay. So I pulled it out and gave it to her, and it was like 3 notebook pages long, like 4 verses, 2 bridges,
right,
a break, a soliloquy.
It
It had everything in
It's
it.
2 bridges, because, you had somewhere to go.
Yeah,
You had a couple creeks
I was
across,
building bridges everywhere. And she goes, okay, Leslie, this is a good song. It's a good idea. She goes, I want you to do me a favor. I said, okay. She goes, I want you to count the words in it. So I counted them, and it was like, 1,500 or something. And she goes, I want you to bring that song back to me next week with half the words. And I went, well, I can't do it.
Yeah.
And she goes, I want you to. So I tried. I worked all week long. I worked for the Baptist Sunday School Board in their basement taking orders. And so, on my breaks, I would work on that song. And I got it down to half, and I took it. I was so proud. I went back and I go, look at that right there. 650 songs.
650 words, yeah.
She goes, isn't that good? Bring that back to me with half the words.
Right. Yeah, I was waiting for that.
She did that to me 4 times.
Yeah.
Wow.
Till I got it down to 2 verses in the chorus, and she goes, now that's a good song.
Now that's a good
Yeah.
song.
And she had just had...
What a lesson.
I'm saying. And she taught me 2 lessons on that trip, because the first lesson was that. And the second lesson was we were on the bus and we were looking out the window, and all the fans were going by, and they'd been to the merch table. And she goes, Leslie, I want you to learn something. Look at all those fans out there. She was really kind to me. And I said, okay. And she said, what do they all have? What does every single one of them have? And I said, I don't know. And she goes, look. And every one of them had a picture. You could buy the Judd's picture for $5. And they were pre-signed, or you could take them after. If you could get in the line, you could get them signed again or whatever. And she goes, every fan should be able to buy something from your merch table. She goes, make sure there's something they can take home with them.
Oh, that's
and
great
she said,
advice.
those $5 pictures, they can take those home. And she said, if they can't afford a T-shirt, they can take home that. Remember that, Leslie.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, she was so kind to me.
Yeah,
She was
smart.
she really taught me a lot. And then her husband, Larry Strickland, taught me about publishing. And he was working with Don Potter, who was the great guitarist that produced the Judds and worked on all their music with Brent Mayer. And he started listening to my songs, and they wanted me to sign with them, but that's when Naomi and went through all of her health stuff. So their publishing company didn't come together. But some other people heard me playing around town, and they took me to their publishers, and then the ball was rolling.
What were some of the places you played around town?
The first place I played was the Bluebird Cafe. I did
Really?
a Sunday audition.
Yeah,
where
I
you
did
had-
that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did it. I couldn't really play guitar. I could only play like 3 chords, and because I hadn't learned to drop D yet. And so
Because that's your go-to now. Is your
man,
drop,
I play in
Are you
Dad Gad.
Yeah.
But when I learned drop D, I had a career. But, career, man.
Well, because all of a sudden you're in swampland.
Yeah, man. You can play anything with one finger.
Yeah.
But my first place I played was the Bluebird, and while I was there, a guy heard me, and he said, "Hey, I'm playing with Linda Davis down at this little joint downtown. It's a little 2-story building, and it's the gift shop for the hard rock, but it's a little teenage.
Yeah.
building.
It's on the corner there.
Yeah,
it used to be a fire station.
Yeah, and it used to be a little club upstairs called the I forget what that was called, something saloon, Silver Dollar Saloon.
Okay.
And it had, the bar was Haydite blocks with 2 2x12s on it. You could only get Pepsi or Michelob's. That was
Really?
it. Yeah. And it had a little tiny stage, but I went there to play with Max T. Barnes.
Oh,
Max
wow.
T was having all that stuff with Randy Travis. And so I'll tell this quick and then I'll shut up. But I had been playing, because I was the little opening act with this friend of mine who played the guitar. And I went downstairs, standing on the sidewalk just to get some air, because it was jammed up there. And because Linda Davis was playing that night. She was real big. And this man, real nice looking man with silver hair, and his wife, they're standing on the sidewalk, and he goes, "Hey, you're pretty good." He said, "I like your songs." I said, "Thank you so much." I go, "You having a good time?" Yeah, I turn into the hostess with the mostest. He goes, "Oh yeah, we're having a good time." And his wife looks at me, she starts laughing. I said, "Are you enjoying Nashville?" He goes, "Yeah, we're enjoying Nashville." And I said, "Well, they had that award show last night." He goes, "We were there." I go, "Is that right?"
They're playing with you.
And I go, "Did you have good seats?" He goes, "Oh yeah." He said, "We were 4th row center." And I went,
4th row center.
Oh, this is...
"Son." And I was like, 4th row center. And I started thinking, I was going,
Who is this
center,
guy?
4th. I go, "Did you win an award last night?" And he goes, "Yeah, sure did." And I go, "Which one?" And he goes, "Well, I won that Song of the Year for Chiseled in Stone."
Oh, my
Oh,
gosh.
it was Max D. Barnes. And
Yeah,
he goes,
yeah.
but that was just, I think what that did for me was because I wasn't grooming him, and I wasn't trying to get something from him.
Yeah.
He just loved me right then, and he started signing my songs to single song agreements and helped me get my first publishing deal.
Oh, wow, that's
and
awesome.
helped me get signed with BMI.
Well, you have a lot of those like chance encounters that worked out for you.
I
That's awesome.
did. I think it was just God putting me in the right place, and like I've been telling some other younger people recently, just be nice to people. Be nice to everyone. You don't know who you're talking
That's
to.
right. That's right.
Your guy might have just won Song of the Year.
Yeah.
He might be
Well, you definitely you have an open personality that just draws people in.
It can get me in trouble at times.
Yeah, I'm sure it can.
But I try to be nice.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
Well, what was your first breakout hit? What was your what was your first top 10? What was your first top 5?
My first top 10 was with Pam Tillis, and it was a song called "I Said a Prayer for You." And what that did for me was I had another song with Jody Messina. I actually had her first single with Max T. But when I had that hit with Pam, I had solo written that song. And so then I started getting a lot of
the
cuts.
holy grail of Nashville songwriting.
Right. The bulk of my cuts that have been hits have been solo written songs.
And
is
that right?
They started cutting songs, and they started cutting multiples. Like they would cut. I would get on a record, and when the records were big in the 90s, in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
I might not have the single, but I'd have 3 record cuts, and that's when they were still buying product.
Yes,
So that was a good
the only way they could get it was to buy the record.
That was a good day.
Yeah.
So Pam was really, really good to me, and she cut several of my songs, and then of course Martina started cutting my songs, and then I started writing with Vince quite a bit.
Oh,
and that
really?
was a big deal for me. So.
I bet.
Yeah.
Well, that guy's amazing.
Yeah, he is, and the thing about Vince
he's pretty good.
He's an okay guitar player.
He doesn't, and he doesn't just write songs just flippantly like a lot of artists will just write, and then they forget half the ones they wrote. We've written probably over 20 songs, and he's recorded 19 of them. I mean, what he writes, he records, and he doesn't forget a song. Like he'll call me back and remember that song we wrote 10 years ago?
Yeah.
He remembers them.
And he's supposedly the nicest guy, right?
He's an awesome guy.
Yeah.
He has a strong personality, a strong. He's quiet, but he has a strong personality. But he's a great guy, and he's
He's an eagle now.
He is an eagle.
Oh, is that right?
He's an eagle.
Yeah.
Always got to bring up the Eagle stuff.
Mm-hmm. He's an eagle. Somebody asked me the other day,
He's part of the Eagles now.
Yeah,
Oh,
could I
right.
get? Yeah, he is. He
that's
took
right.
took Glenn's place.
Yeah, that's right.
Somebody's trying to get me to get Vinny to do a benefit or something. I was like, dude, the man is an eagle. He's gone. You can't ask him anymore. You're like,
right.
So anyway.
Did you write at his house, or did he come into town?
He used to come to my office at first at Gale Force, and when I was writing over there, and then we just started writing at the house because he has a beautiful studio there.
Right.
And we'd write at his house or at he's really not pretentious at all.
Yeah.
He's a fun person.
He doesn't seem to come
Oh,
across.
man, what a voice! His voice is like butter. It's like one of those,
It's inspiring to write with great singers, like writing with you guys.
Yeah.
It's inspiring to write with great singers, and so. And it also spoils you as a writer because once you start writing with great singers,
you expect everybody.
Then you get in the room with somebody that can't sing, and I mean that's the fact of the music business across the board. It does not just country. There's a lot of singers that can't sing, and then you're going, oh gosh, I could be in here with
Right.
Where's Trisha Yearwood?
But it does make a difference, right?
Makes a
Melodic
huge
choices
difference.
and stuff like that with a vocalist.
Yeah.
Well, and I know it'll make a difference when you're writing with somebody like, let's say you're co-writing with an artist and Matresa Berg. You're like, okay. Just let Matresa sing. Don't sing, just let her sing. So.
You sound great though. I love your voice.
Thank
Great.
you, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. I've had some people say, and I know this has happened to Troy. I know it's happened to you guys. I've had some producers call me and say, my artist said they can't sing it like you, so they don't want to cut it or whatever. I'm like, oh no.
That used to happen when I was younger, but not so much anymore.
Yes, it does.
Because you
Yes,
sing
it
like
does.
an angel.
Not so much anymore.
If they come from Texas, do angels come from Texas?
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
a song title.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cut that out of the video. I was going to tell you was one producer called me one time and said he was producing these twins. I won't say who. And they were like, we can't sing it, we can't sing it. He goes, oh, yes, you can. He just kept pouring. He said, we can't sing it. Oh, yes, you can. He got them so liquored up. They're like,
that's
we
funny.
can do it.
Yeah.
And they did. They did a great job. So.
That's hilarious.
So anyway.
Well, so you mentioned to us earlier in the day before we got on camera, you have a new venture coming out. Do you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, my husband and I, we have a new multimedia group, and it's an indie record label and publishing company and a multimedia platform that we'll launch after the first of the year with our content on it. And right now we're writing for it and producing, and it'll be I can't really talk about what it is yet because it hasn't launched yet, but we're so excited about it. We have some great writers producers working with us. We have Corey Batten, who wrote the big hits for Blake, and Chris Young. We have John Caldwell, who used to be here at Station West, who's a great young producer, a guy named Alex Sire, and we have a young British producer, and we just Will Robinson is writing for us, who had a lot of Disney hits, and so it's kind of a different different way of writing because we're writing for specific things, but it's going to be very fun, very interesting.
It's music centric. It's music centric. Is it Leslie centric or
no? It's
no,
worldwide centric, so that's good.
Wow.
I just happen to be part of it, so I'm excited about it. My husband is as you know, is an actor. He's a cowboy actor, and so he's taken a little bit of a break from that to work with this and our investors and guys that we have started to be business partners with, and it's sort of a whole new world. A lot of reinvention for all of us, everybody's doing that.
Yes.
And so we had to figure out a way to keep making music and being able to get music out to people without, if you couldn't tour, or what happens if they do shut down venues and you can't play? What do you do?
Right.
We're reinventing just like you guys are.
Right.
And so and the audience is really into the reinvention, I believe, because they're tuning in.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's in the same way that we can't perform, they can't come see us. So
they still want to be entertained.
But they still want to be entertained, for sure.
Right.
For sure.
So that's
that's very forward thinking.
It's the way to. I mean, you can think about the future, and you just have to go. Okay, I either embrace it or reject it.
Yeah.
If you reject it, it's time to go back to Texas.
Right.
So I'm not really ready to go back to Texas right at the moment. I like to visit, but
Yeah.
not to live. So,
Yeah, even though it's a wonderful place to be.
Yeah, right now I'd like to go back with some actual, money. No, so anyway, it's just a reinvention time, and I feel like we have a lot of friends that are actors and producers. I'm sure Brett knows a lot of actors and producers, and everyone's doing the same thing.
Yeah.
My husband's cousin is a professional actor, and he's at home in Texas, East Texas. And he's setting up a voiceover studio in his home. He's gonna do voiceovers.
Right.
It's just, everybody's having to figure out, because there's no movies being produced.
Right. Yeah. Right. New podcasts are springing up. This whole time.
And we talked about Broadway a while ago.
Yeah.
Broadway just shut down.
Is it?
Yeah. What are those folks doing?
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing.
I don't know how half the people in the United States right now are working or making any money here.
I know.
Well, some of them aren't. Some people are struggling really hard.
Yeah.
For sure.
But our industry, especially entertainment, it's definitely it's a tough thing.
Well, you guys had Thompson Square on, you were saying. I don't know if you've aired their thing yet or not.
We did, yeah.
We talked about their, I'm sure you all talked about it, but they had done some of those drive-in concerts where the people are out there.
Yes.
Kiefer said it's great because the fans are so excited to be there.
Yeah.
But they're so far away, they're like,
yeah, right.
you can't hear them.
Yeah.
And he said the energy is so
it's hard
out there.
Yeah, what's funny about 2 weeks after, maybe about 2 or 3 weeks after this, the lockdown started in March, the pandemic was, nationwide. Our neighbors, one of my neighbors asked me if I would give them a concert we live in a cul-de-sac. So I went out there with my guitar and just walked around the cul-de-sac playing a couple of songs for the neighbors in the neighborhood, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, people are just trying to. It's just trying to keep us good. A good attitude about everything.
Yeah.
Sanity. Keep some semblance of sanity.
Keep some sanity.
Right,
that's
and normalcy as well.
Songwriters and musicians are resilient, and they're always coming up with different things like streaming, like doing kind of stuff on the internet. There are other ways to kind of keep it rolling.
Right.
Besides having to go travel across the country, which is what we'd all like to be doing, performing. You got to do what you got to do.
I actually think we probably have the best of it as singer-songwriters because we can play and sing.
Yeah.
And we can pick up a guitar and sit at home and play. Think of if you were an artist that can't play anything.
Right.
And you can't, you'd be kind of stuck in a hole.
Yeah, you would be.
So we actually, we've kind of been the people in the background a little bit. Now the people in the background are kind of stepped up in the foreground. I'm like, what? This isn't hurting my feelings.
Well, we wish you all the best in that new venture. That sounds exciting.
I'm excited about it.
I'm saying they're building that is amazing.
Yeah, y'all have to come out. After we launch, you guys come out and we'll do another one of these and we'll tell y'all about it. But
we love love to go.
Because I'd love for y'all to be a part of it, actually.
Absolutely.
There would be a place for you guys to be a part of this
We'd love to.
exciting new
Well,
thing.
anything you're involved in is gonna be fabulous.
Let me tell you,
so-
God's hand is on it, and we're just trying to do what we feel is the best thing for us and for the future, for what we're building. And so we're trying, and our whole thing will be all family friendly and some faith based. So there'll be it'll be what you can listen to, your family can listen to, your kids can listen to. It'll all be family
Right.
friendly,
That's
and so
great.
we're very excited about that.
Yeah.
Cool. Very
We'll have to
cool.
keep that in mind if we go out there.
Yeah,
for
you
it.
guys leave that cussing at home. Cussing in the parking lot.
Well, we're going to do a song with you a little later. We're going to do Troubadour with you. That was George Strait's. Was it a number one? I
It
assume?
was not a number one. Kid Rock was kind enough to
How
stop us
was-
from number one.
Oh, is that
Oh,
right?
yes, he hung there at number 2.
I thought everything George released was.
It did not make number 1.
Great song though.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
I was all my friends were calling me going, "You're gonna ring the bell. You're about to ring the bell." I was like, "Kid Rock is ringing the bell."
Oh, no.
So it's when he had that hit with Sheryl Crow.
Yeah.
It was that
yeah.
summertime song,
Right.
and it just hung there.
Oh,
yeah.
right. Yeah. whatever
Picture
it
of
was.
you or
Picture
something.
Of you, something like that. Yeah.
And it just hung there, and it would not move, and we're like, "Oh, Kid Rock." So anyway,
He's a
yeah.
local now, isn't he? Is he
yeah,
still
I think
here?
so. I like Kid Rock.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
of
mean,
course.
he's a cool dude, and
Yeah.
he's a really smart dude.
Yeah.
I mean, from what I hear, I don't know him personally, but a lot of my friends that know him say that dude is smart. If you ever get around him, you guys should get Kid Rock on this show.
That'd be fun.
Sure. That'd be awesome.
We'll find somebody that
Sounds
knows
like a
Kid
great
Rock.
idea.
Yeah.
Did you get to meet George? Did you get to hang with George at all when he cut your
Well,
song?
I did not, but I do have one great story about it when it was getting cut. I met him. I've had several cuts on George and never met him. And when they made him the icon for BMI a couple years ago, he was at his table and Dean Dillon came wandering by. And I was like, Dean. I go, I've never met Strait Kid. Could you introduce me? He goes, yeah, come over here, baby sister. Let me introduce you to him. So we go over, and he was sitting down. And he didn't have his hat on or anything, so it doesn't even look like him.
Right,
You know?
yeah.
And he reached up and he just, took my hand and shook my hand, and I was like, well, I'm such an idiot.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, thank
Yeah.
you for, paying for my house. So dumb. Anyways, he was really, really nice and
Yeah.
just a good guy. And so when he was recording, this is what I was going to tell you, this is the greatest story. One of the players, I won't give up who, but one of the players called me and said, hey man, we're down here at Jimmy Buffett's place and the Keys cutting this record. And I'd already had 2 cuts because I had 3 songs cut on that record. But we were waiting on Troubadour. It was like, oh, Troubadour, come on.
Yeah.
And so,
Because you never know, even though
it
they.
can get bounced in the
Yeah,
last minute. Especially
even
when
though
Dean
they
Dillon
ask
gets
for
down there.
lyric, they
Yeah,
ask for
right.
the demo, they ask for
Yeah.
all this. They
Right.
get, well, give us all
They
this.
designed the tattoo,
Just
and then
in-
Dean Dillon shows up.
Yes, right, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dean, what you got?
With a big pile of songs.
Yeah,
exactly.
And actually that had happened. He was down there with a big pile of songs, and a woman named Janie West, who's a really precious person,
Yeah, we love
song person here in town.
Yeah.
She was playing songs for George. They were out on a boat. She goes, George, she owns no part of Troubadour, none. She goes, have you heard this great song Troubadour? And he goes, no, I haven't heard it. Now that had been pitched to the label.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
everybody reject. And I was
Right.
like, oh no. And he goes, no, let me hear it. And she played it. He got on the phone, called Dottie up at his office and went, put the song Troubadour on hold, call over Sony, get the song right now. I was like, oh, thank you, Jesus. But what happened when they were recording was so great. This player called me and said, hey, Leslie, you gotta hear what just happened. He goes, we were taking a break and we're looking at charts outside this studio. And Buffett's studio, there's about as big as this room. It's a real tiny little place, and it's kind of, I don't know if you've been there or seen it, but they say it's kind of dinky and dingy, and it's
Yeah.
like right on the water, and nobody would even know it's a studio, much less.
Yeah, it was in
Buffett's.
Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the Keys, and George had his boat pulled up down there and all this stuff, and so he and Tony Brown were outside, and they were looking at charts. They had on shorts and stuff, sunglasses, and my friend was standing there. Said he was smoking a cigarette. He said they were looking at the chart for Troubadour. So he said, I was going, oh Jesus, please, and he said they were kicked back in their straight back chairs against the wall, in the sunshine. And he said, this couple's coming straight at him. He said, man, you can see them come a mile away. It's tourists, they've got on the Bermuda shorts. They've got on the I got laid in the Keys t-shirt, and they've got on the big Nikon camera, they're coming straight for George. And he said, I'm going, uh-oh. And there's a bunch of players standing there and like, oh no. And nobody can say anything because they might not recognize him as you don't want to give him up.
Right.
And so he said they were just standing there, and this lady comes right up to George. She goes, hey, can you do me a favor? And George looks at Tony Brown and Tony, and he goes, maybe. And She goes, my husband said that George Strait is in that dingy old building recording a record. And I told him he's an idiot. And I bet him $250 that George Strait was not in that building. Can you tell me if George Strait is in that building?
You are kidding.
No,
me.
every player said we were just standing there holding our cigarettes. And he said George looked over at Tony and looked back at him and he goes, ma'am, you tell your husband to pay you $250 because George Strait is not in that building. And she hit her husband. She goes, see, I told you. They turned around and walked off.
Oh,
she
that's
was talking
hilarious.
to him. Oh, no. And this player was like, oh, my gosh. We were all sweating bullets. Yeah.
Gosh.
He said,
how did he do that with a straight face?
Oh, man. He's probably done it a zillion times.
Right.
But she goes, is George Strait in that building? He goes, man, George Strait is not in that building. So I was like, oh, you got this love stuff like that. Don't you wish you could get it on camera?
Wow.
So.
That's great.
Goodness. All right. Well, y'all stick around for Troubadour. Leslie, thank you again for coming
Thank
and
you,
talking.
Troy.
Yeah, thank you, Leslie.
Thank you,
Leslie Satcher.
Very
Everybody
much.
give her a hand.
Yeah.
Thanks again. We'll see you guys next time.